welcome back to Choice Bits of Bliss. My name is Cilla. In this video, we are going to be starting our collection obsession for November layouts. And I'm going to do something really different for November. If you've been following me for any time at all, you know I work for the Postal Service, and November and December is what we call peak season. We are extremely busy, and my time that I have to be creative is even more restricted than it is during the rest of the year. So we have these ebbs and flows to our job, just like everybody else has in their jobs for various reasons. But November and December are really slammed. So even if I were to be able to come home at my normal time, what I have done in the 8 to 10 hours that I was at work is so much more. I'm mentally exhausted. I'm physically exhausted. Customer complaints seem to take a spike. So, you know, I'm being tasked in a lot of different areas. So, for that reason, I decided to make double page layouts. Number one, we all know I don't do that very often. And number two, I decided to use a sketch from Page Maps and make all 4 double page layouts identical. But when I'm done with them, they will not look the same. So I thought this would be a fun twist on using the same layout, is just to go through and show they will not look the same at all. If you follow Dorothy Guinan, and I suggest that you do, she is a fabulous teacher. This is something that she does from time to time, is that she'll use the same sketch 2 or 3 times in a month, and then she'll lay them side by side and show how very versatile a sketch can be just by using the bare bones of it. So I've planned a lot prior to going into November. So before we start this, I've done a lot of planning. I've done a lot of prep work so that when November comes and I'm here and I'm working on these pages, I'm not going to be crazy and I'm not going to be so stretched. Let's talk about what I have planned. So I went ahead and cut my papers. First, let me back up. Let's show you the sketch. So this is the sketch I'm taking, and I'm not even doing this vertical portion. I'm just doing the very base. So it's a block with a block with a block. The very base. That's what I'm taking. And I replicated that with different papers 4 times. Okay, so we have our sketch. I've already cut my papers. Nothing is adhered. And I have these scraps from cutting the papers. So every single layout used 6 pieces of paper. For real, it did. So these are going to go into my scraps. Now, on each one of the layouts, I came up with what I want to do on the layout to make it look very different. So this first layout that we're going to work on, the techniques that I want to use die cuts, and I'm going to do a grid design and create some dimension. So that is going to be the first layout. The second layout, I'm going to do some stitching. And the only thing I did different to this one is that I did for my second block, I did half and half. The third layout, I'm going to use some mixed media. Now, another thing I need to share about these layouts is that the reason I'm doing double page layouts is because it's from past years of Thanksgiving. I will not be able to show any of the photos. I'm not even going to put photos down while I'm doing these layouts, even though they'll be ready to go on once the videos are over and once sharing is over. Because I have a humongous family, I am not going to text 45 people and ask them if I can share their faces on social media. No, I'm just not going to do that. I would just rather create the layouts and then put the photos on later. Some of them will say yes, some will say no. It just will start a whole thing. I don't have time for things right now. So on the fourth layout, I'm going to use a cut file, and I've already selected my cut file that I'm going to use. So do you see how this is already stacking up to be very unique layouts, even though the bases are identical? So there we go. I've got them all prepped and ready to go. Now we're going to lay the others aside, and we're going to start working on the first layout. So I wanted to use die cuts. I wanted to do die cutting. I maybe should be a little more specific about that. And I'm going to do a grid design, and I want to create dimension. The first thing I did was looking at the color scheme that is in my base. I went to my scraps and selected scraps that were similar, not exact. I even added in some colors. And I just kept pulling different scraps. And I die cut. And once I got my die cutting finished, so when I die cut, they looked like this, something like this. And then I went back with punches. I was channeling my inner Ginger. Her channel is Ginger's Corner. And I punched. Wherever there was a little bit of space, I used a punch, and I punched to get every single scrap that I could get used up. So we have a conversation going on at the Crafty Low and No Spin group. What is your favorite tip or number one tip to make your supplies stretch? And this is a great tip. Ginger does it all the time when she's making embellishments. She takes her scraps and her leftovers, and she just keeps punching until she gets to where she doesn't have anything else that she can possibly use to punch. And this is the lusciousness that was created from those scraps. Isn't it just pretty? So to my right, I have a set of drawers that is nothing but punches. And I have one drawer that is leaf punches and my flare, but it's majority leaf punches. So I know that when I am doing something like this, I'll just pull out that third drawer and I have all my leaf punches right there available. I love leaves. I love them. And I love fall colors. So even if I don't use all of this on this layout, I can put them in their color grouping and pull from them all year long. So this is something that I don't feel like is a waste of time or a waste of product, because I will draw from it all year long. Some of these colors are not just for fall. So I can use them. I can keep using them. And I like that. So I feel like I've been die cutting all morning is what I feel like. But I stamped some. I've got die cuts. I've got punched images. And I am super, super happy with this. Now, I'm going to talk about a layout that I saw that Paige Evan had done. And she had created a very, some of her designs are super clean. And she had created this grid. And it was the way that she shot it that created the shadow. But she made lines in between her grid, so it looked kind of like a tic-tac-toe, and she did a stitch. The stitching was raised up, so she had used several strands to create that bulky stitch. And I thought, I don't want to do the stitching, because when I first looked at it, I thought it was 1/4 inch strips of paper that were stacked on top of each other. And that's what I'm going to do, because I want to create that dimension. So I'm going to do the grid. I'm going to create my grid. And then I'm going to make dimension by stacking 1/4 inch pieces of paper on top of each other. So I'm going to pause the video here, get started, and I'll be right back. So as you can see, I've pretty much got the bones of my layout completed. I wanted to tell you about a couple of things. While I was digging in my scraps, I found this piece of paper, this little bit of scrap left over from Pumpkin and Spice collection from Prima. And I decided to marry something more recent with this older collection that I'm using. And I fussy cut some elements to put, these are my clusters. This is going to be my visual triangle on a 2-page spread. I do not have these adhered yet. Still thinking about the placement of my photos, because I'm thinking about doing more on this side. So I think this is the alignment that I'm going to use. And while I have you here, I'm going to tuck in some of my die cut leaves. And this is the set that I used from Photo Play. It's called Autumn Greetings, and it's the stamp and die cut. So that is, I want to make sure I mentioned that. Now let's play with our our fall leaves. So, like I said, isn't that just pretty? I just love that. So, using the color scheme that is in this dominant pattern paper, I started die cutting and even adding in elements like that with these fussy cut pieces. It doesn't look so out of place. And here is my puppy Charlie. She came up here to visit me. That is relatively new. She was a little bit timid about the stairs, and now she has decided that it's no problem. She can come up here anytime she wants to see me. So I am just playing and tucking, and I'm going to continue doing this. You have basically seen the bones, what I've created with this layout. And once the final, I post the final pictures, these, they may move. I may use different leaves, but this is the general idea. This is the gist of it, of what I'm going to be adding to this layout. I think it's beautiful. I'm very, very happy with it. So thank you for joining me for layout 1 for November Collection Obsession. Make sure you go down and look at all of the links below in the description. and see what our other friends are creating. This hop is turning out to be a ton of fun, and if you want to see even more inspiration, come on into the Crafty Low or No Spend Facebook group. We have some really fun, relevant conversations about our hobby, how to save, how to curb the spending. And you know what? Some people join begrudgingly because they don't want to actually save. I started the group begrudgingly, so I get it. I didn't want to save either. I had to. I didn't have a choice. I didn't have any more room in my room. So it has made a tremendous difference in how I think about our hobby, how I think about collecting supplies and using them. So even if it's begrudgingly, come join us. I think you'll enjoy what we share. Have a great day, and we will chat again soon. Bye-bye. I know I said bye, but I didn't mean that. I'm back. I wanted to show you that a more complete layout. Now, I did tell you earlier that these bits, where the photos are, I can't show them because I have a humongous family. But this is what the layout will look like. These are where the photos will go. I have 2 4x6s. I have 8 3x4s. And I'm really happy. I'm going to have 10 photos on this layout. I don't need a lot of journaling other than the year that it happened. Turner family Thanksgiving, the year. That will go here. And this is the layout. But I decided I wanted this band I wanted to take advantage of the fact that I had die cut and stamped all of these leaves and acorns. So I just wanted to make a band in between the photos and completely immerse myself in fall loveliness. I'm happy with this layout. Everything is adhered. All I have to do is pop the photos down and it's done. One of the years of our get-togethers is completed, and I'm excited about that. So thank you so much for letting me interrupt and come back and show you what the finished layout looks like. We will chat again soon. Bye-bye.